travel with me, if you will, back to magical year 1984. I'm 11 years old, and I've got one of those cassette recorders, where you can talk into it, where you push down the two buttons and it'll record you. And I sneak out to my parents' car, and they have an 8-track player out there. And I throw on the Rocky III soundtrack, and I record DJ-style intros over Eye of the Tiger. And I interview my little brother, and I'm basically creating my own little radio show. Now, fortunately for me, time has gotten rid of those tapes. I don't know what happened to them. But they don't exist anymore, and my goals for being on the radio show didn't exist as well. I would discover computers, and that would lead to, that interest would lead me to go to be a software developer, and I would be a typical computer programmer, introverted, and leading a quiet and comfortable life. Now, move forward a little bit to the mid-2000s, and podcasts are invented. And I discovered podcasts pretty quickly, and there was something about them that I just latched onto. It was this unique style that they had. The beauty with podcasts were that they didn't really have rules, so they could go as long as they needed to be about whatever they wanted to be about. And it was different than the normal interview style I would hear, like on a talk show, where it was light and fluff. And these were people talking like real people, and they were authentic conversations, and I was hooked. I would even think, I should have a podcast. But I would always use the excuse of, I don't know what I would talk about. I don't have a topic that I could do. So I would continue to be quiet and comfortable leading my introverted lifestyle. Now, you know how there are certain outside forces that act sometimes that get you out of your comfort zone. Well, the outside forces would happen to me in 2013. In June of 2013, I would lose my job I'd had for 12 years. And after an initial freak out, I would settle in and decide, I'll just do software consulting for a while. And I needed a way to market myself. And I thought, hey, a podcast. I could talk to Evansville businesses, and that would get me to know them, and they would know me. Hopefully they would like me and use me to do their software. But I still didn't do it. I was still missing something. And later that year, in 2013, that something would arrive in November. No shave November. The beard arrived, and it had confidence. And it said, start the podcast. So I listened, and we launched the podcast in December of 2013. Now, a side note, I had originally wanted to call my podcast Give Evansville the Business. It's not a great name. It's a really bad name, actually. And fortunately, I have a vice president of common sense in my wife. And she said, you're not going to call it that. And so I listened, and I didn't. So I started the podcast. Also, I'll give my beard an idea credit for the catchphrase that I came up with. For some reason, I said I need to have a saying I would use at the end. And then we would play video games online, and me and my friends, and I would come up with a thing we would say at the end where we'd be like, good job, everybody, mostly sarcastically. But something about that always stuck with me, and I decided to use that at the end of my podcast where I would say, good job, everybody. So I had my beard, and I had my microphone, and I had my catchphrase, and I also started developing a theory. And this theory was that if you knew someone, you were probably going to support them. If your friend has a coffee shop, you're probably going to go to that coffee shop, right? So I used this as an excuse to talk with the businesses. I thought, hey, I'll tell them that if you're on the show, we'll learn about you, and then people will like you and they'll support you. Because I thought, why would people talk to me? I don't really have connections. I'm not, I'm an introverted guy. But it turns out people really like to talk about themselves, so it wasn't an issue. So I started talking to these businesses, and what happens was I started to have these authentic conversations with people that I normally wouldn't have access to. And I got to know them, and the theory was right. I wanted to support them. I learned about these businesses that either I'd seen, the building or maybe gone to, but never really cared much. But once I got to know the person behind it, I learned their struggles and their successes, and I wanted to support them. The theory was right. Then, almost immediately, the event people found me. And see, I didn't consider talking about events when I started the podcast, because honestly, as we all probably heard, there is nothing to do in Evansville. So what events would we talk about? Well, turns out that saying is a huge lie. There's too much to do in Evansville, actually. It's exhausting trying to keep up. But I would talk with these people, but we wouldn't talk just about the events. We would talk about why they're involved with the event, and how did the event start, and why are you doing this? And through that, I would want to actually go to the events and support them, and it would make me connect with my community more by going to these things. The participation in these events would help me connect to my community. And then I started talking with politicians and nonprofits and community leaders, and I would find out why they were involved in the community. Why did they care? Getting to more of a deeper level on why they were involved. Why did they give up their time to do stuff for Evansville? And it affected me. It made me care more about Evansville. It made me want to share their story, but also be more involved, to participate. And it not only affected me personally, but it affected my family. See, after a couple of years of doing the podcast about Evansville, we realized we needed to move. Not away from Evansville. We wanted to move downtown Evansville. We wanted to be where the action was, where the heartbeat of the city was, that we thought, at least. There's a passion that was down there that we weren't getting in the suburbs where we were at. And so we did. We moved down, and it was night and day difference for us. We were prepared for that kind of community connection, neighborhood engagement that we were not getting before. And I know that I can go to a local establishment now, and I'll know someone there, most likely. And I'll be able to talk with them, which wouldn't have happened before. And we'll have a good conversation, and usually I'll know when we're having a good conversation because I'm mad I'm not recording it. And my kids will even say, before we go in somewhere, hey, we're not going to be here for an hour, right? You don't have to talk to everyone when we go somewhere, but whatever. So I can't emphasize how different that is from pre-bearded Jason's life. And my goal today is not for you to grow a beard or even to start a podcast. That's just the tools that I needed. What I want for you is to find out whatever it is that makes you connect to your community in a more meaningful way, because I can't imagine living unconnected anymore. Good job, everybody.